Got it. Okay, great. There we are. Good morning. Still morning, right? Good morning, everybody. Um, Welcome. This is Between Two Teachers, where two retired teachers talk about educational issues, national, local, statewide, and give you our opinion about them and some best practices and try to give you some hope for the future on education. So today is Friday, May the 26th, and my name is Consuelo Lara.
And my name is Madeline Cronenberg, and this is episode 198. We're coming in.
Hi, almost 200.
Almost 200 and closer. And we begin as always with our land acknowledgement. We pause to acknowledge that we have gathered on the ancestral territory of Huchun, part of the unceded land of the Chochenyo and Karkin speaking Muwekma Ohlone people. We remember the continued connection they have to this region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland. We offer our respect to them, to all their elders and all Ohlone people of the past and present. And we continue to urge you to support Justice for Muwekma so that we are able to advocate for their tribal recognition on a federal level so that they will be able to get the advantages of being a federally recognized tribe. So please Google Justice for Muwekma, and you will be put in the position of being able to support their advocacy. And also, we advocate for having appropriate training and education for all of our students who need to understand the history of the tribal homelands in the Bay Area. And you can find the curriculum for that on the East Bay Regional Park District website. If you go there and look up or just do a search for the Ohlone curriculum. And this is the curriculum that's been worked on together with the Ohlone community. And it's not the traditional Anglo-centric curriculum, which we know from the past and that needed to be replaced.
Yes, and the county office has some resources also. This came up with last time we were talking about the Mount Diablo Interpretive Center.
Right.
Because they have a very nice land acknowledgement, but you also need to include what you're offering and participating. So the county does have, in fact, I remember they formed a committee to look at that. Would have been nice to have a board member on that committee.
Yeah.
Anyway, they came up with a land acknowledgement. In fact, they had like 6 of them. And so I was able to pick one that I wanted to use and that for the opening of the board. But also if you go to the website and then you go where it says about CCOE, right there you come to land acknowledgement and it opens a whole page of resources. There's even a map that shows the tribes where they were and overlapping. It's very nice, very well done. So there's more information there too.
I will put a link to that too, right next to the one that we have for East Bay Regional Park. So that's the important thing is that we do grow this information, right?
Yes.
Actually, it should be on every school district website.
Yes. What are you doing? It's not just the land acknowledgement. It's
where are the resources for families and for teachers?
Yes.
I mean, because the bottom line is what we have to do is change how we teach it.
Yeah.
That's the and for adults to also understand that the message has changed. We have come to understand that we were very siloed and in no way did we include the entire or accurate story of what happened in our tribal communities in the early history of California at all. So
exactly. And those people want to pull all of this stuff out, kind of this diverse curriculums and things. So we need to make sure it stays.
Well, exactly. So this actually brings us to the national story we're going to talk about, and that is That's got to do with the culture wars again, in Florida. And this week, there are many things happen in Florida this week, but one thing I want to point out is the limiting of access to Amanda Gorman's beautiful, historic inaugural poem that she delivered at the Biden inauguration. And one parent complained in Miami-Dade and got the book that has that poetry in it removed. And she got it moved instead to the middle school or part of the library. I guess her child is in a K-8 school, right? Now, what that means is that I would predict that when this child gets older, the parent will just continue to, because the objection really will continue. The point of the objection is going to be the same, and they'll ultimately successfully get it removed altogether.
Yeah, yeah. We got to keep an eye on this. You just never know. And like you said, one parent,
One parent.
you know, we've got to keep
One parent. And this was just a book in the library. So remember, across the United States now, in hundreds of districts, one parent is making the call, right? And in some places, they're not adding any books to the library unless the school board approves of each title.
Wow.
This is unbelievable. And do we think people are, running for school boards so that they can read 100 books of K-12 literature or K-8 literature? Nobody's going to do that. I mean, that's a new expectation of school board members. Right.
All right.
So there's that story. Locally, the other things, the other stories I want to get to are California stories. The first one is the story about arts education. And the wonderful thing that happened last year is we passed the proposition to provide additional funding for the arts. And thank goodness we did, because as we know, budgets go up and budgets go down. So at least the art teachers are now not going to be the first ones fired. As a matter of fact, because they have a line item, they now have their funding preserved. But what's happened is that there aren't that many teachers, because in the past, we didn't have the funding for them. So there, in addition to the teacher shortage for everybody else, there's a teacher shortage for arts teachers now.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing, because that means that people can come from the art. They can be like CTE teachers, right? They can come from the arts community and come in to education.
That's right. That's right. Because if you get an art degree and then you get hired as a teacher, they might not let you teach art. You need to teach something else. So
Right.
That's great. That's a great thing. Yeah.
Right. So this is not a bad problem on the grand scheme of problems that you could have, but because at least we have the money to bring these teachers in.
Awesome.
So that's good news. A couple of updates. Another one is the teacher one, and I just thought I'd point this one detail out because we haven't never talked about this before. They are additional opportunities for teachers to be able to teach in California. And there are teachers, there's a growth of teacher residency programs, and there's other opportunities, but the one that is now available to the community members is if you are the spouse of a member of the military who gets stationed in California. Previously, you had a teaching credential. That didn't mean you could teach in California. If you had a New Orleans, North Carolina teaching credential, you weren't teaching in California because you didn't have a California teaching credential. Now you automatically will get one.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's great. I mean, we have to look at all of those little barriers that
Exactly.
prevent people from becoming teachers that are nonsense. you know, if you're a trained teacher and experienced, so what if you're from another state?
Right, the whole issue
Children.
of,
It's
of other states and how, what you accept and what you don't accept. That's, it's true. The training is different, but we have to get past
Yeah,
looking for reasons not to have them do it. So this is not a giant step. It's not going to bring in thousands of people, but it's going to bring in some people. It's
yeah,
going to bring in some people because there certainly are young military families and people who've got credentials in other states who haven't been able to get a job here because their credentials were not recognized, and now they will be. So I think that's a good step forward.
absolutely.
The other thing that's come up with a follow up to what we've talked about is Oakland. The Oakland School Board will have an election because in the end, they have not been able to agree on who they would appoint because remember, they had the issue of the failure of their ranked choice voting process. And at the end of that process, it was determined that a person who was certified was not the person who got the most votes. Mr. Resnick was certified, and Mr. Resnick, I think, did the wise thing in resigning because he didn't want to be the swing vote on all of the things that had to do with the strike, but ultimately became a strike. There was nothing about that made sense, except for the fact that he was in the middle of this peculiar situation where he had been certified, and after he had been certified, it became clear that he wasn't the winner. So anyway, they are now going to they have to fill the position. There's 6 of them. 6 is not a good number. You need 7, and they're going to wind up having an election in November.
Yeah, very expensive to have an election. So
that's not. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. It is very expensive, but there is no. And one candidate has stepped forward. Sasha Ritzy Hernandez has set up a campaign website and will submit papers as soon as the filing period opens. And Miss Ritzy Hernandez is someone who volunteered last year for her colleague, Miss Meningos school board campaign. Anyway, there are people who will run, and that will be a race now. That'll be an election. So there's that. And what I'm going to do next. And the last thing I wanted to bring up here, well, 2 more things. One is an update on Uvalde. It's actually been a year since the massacre at Uvalde. And the families have had to survive everything for a year. They have tried desperately. The one thing that they really wanted to do was limit access to the military equipment that murdered their children. And in other states, you can't get an AR-15 until you're 21 years old, and the murderer here was 18. And so they just wanted to change that in Texas, and we're not able to.
It's disgusting. I can't believe it. This doesn't get better when you hear about Uvalde. So
now it honestly does not get better. I mean, which is so incredibly sad. And this was the anniversary of the shooting. I think the next thing that's going to happen that we'll talk about Uvalde is the new school is being built, right? Because the children now had to be moved around into other buildings, but they are building a new school that's been designed, and it will have an area to recognize the children and teachers who died. So that'll be more, but I didn't want to not mention the Uvalde update.
Important for us to know about. Yeah.
All right. Why don't we talk about, now it's time to talk about housing. You want to start?
Yes, yes, we're moving quickly on this housing and gaining momentum. And it's very exciting. So we're going to be working with a lot of other electeds to move forward with this, like Devin Murphy and Jamila uh, Smith Folds from West Contra Costa, and then
She's
Devin,
the school board trustee and Mr. Murphy is the mayor of
the
Pinole.
mayor of Pinole. And so we have now a Facebook page called, what's it
It's a
called?
group. This is a
Oh, it's
group.
Group. It's a
So
group.
you can join this group. This is a public group. So this is a public group. So anybody who is watching us right now is cordially invited to join our Facebook group called Friends of Education Workforce Housing. Just search for it on Facebook and you will find it and you will be admitted. And that's where we're storing information for the public to be able to have access to.
Yeah, when, there's so many often naysayers who say, oh, you can't do that, or what, well, it's being done and all over, up and down the state of California. So we're posting all of those things that are happening around that. How many members do you know? How many are in the group?
65. We have 65 members right now.
Wow. So, I mean, at this point, we know there's interest, and we want to push the electeds to push this forward with other electeds to make this happen. And one of the things is, it's so complex, and we need the experts and their guidance. And maybe we could put together some tools for people to understand how to do this and what it takes, because there's so much, about surplus property, finance, so many different issues and facets to this. So we still are looking for putting together a forum with a panel of experts to provide and start building that information. So we'll start creating that, the connections and the resources, so that that's available to people, and start working and moving forward on this. So it's very exciting. But that's kind of where we are. Did I leave anything out?
No, that's it. I mean, this is what it takes is political will. And then you just keep looking for the resources, and the resources are there. It's just a matter of really continuing the search till you get there. And so that's what we're going to be doing. That's what we're going to be. So stay tuned and let's see where we wind up. This is, I wanted to do a shout out to a couple of shout outs now. The first one is years ago. So we've almost at 200 episodes now. Sometime back, we talked about tiny houses.
Yes.
We're talking about tiny houses. Well, we did. We talked about tiny houses here and how they could be part of the solution to homelessness.
Yeah.
And they are becoming part of the solution to youth homelessness in Oakland, and now soon in Richmond as well, in Contra Costa. And it's the Tiny House Empowerment Village. They've got they already have an operation in Oakland. In Oakland, they put in 26 tiny houses, and they're about to put 12 in a location in downtown Richmond. This is an extraordinary idea. I mean, this really makes sense. It just shows that homelessness doesn't have one cause. It's not going to have one solution.
No, absolutely. So many layers to it. And who's the group that's
the group is, so this is run by the Quakers.
Yes.
It's the Quaker pastor, Sally Heineman, came before the Richmond City Council the other night to share out the good work that they're doing. And so I just want to give a big shout out to everybody involved in this. This is an amazing idea.
Yeah.
And it's going to make a big difference to all of the families and the young people who are going to be served by this.
Yes, very good.
And my final shout out is to somebody who is a star on on the California reports, the KQED California reports, and their podcast today is highlighting longtime Richmond teacher, and did an entire podcast on this longtime teacher who we've spoken of before, but I will certainly speak of him again. Mike Peretz. Mike Peretz is once again recognized for his incredible years of service to the children of Kennedy High School.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know he watches.
We know you're there, Mike. We do know. And so we want to tell you, we are so thrilled that you've also been recognized by not only Between Two Teachers, but also KQED and the California reports.
Absolutely. Great.
So until next time we'll have episode 199.
Close.
Until then, bye-bye from Between
Bye-bye.
Two. Oops, I don't mean to do that.